All right, so the House and Congress, obviously, are officially back in session this week with government funding, a potential impeachment inquiry on top of everything. And Republicans have been leading an aggressive investigation into claims that Joe Biden was, in fact, involved in his son Hunter's sketchy foreign business affairs during his time as vice president. Just last week, though, a new poll found that 61% of Americans agree. But not all Republicans are on board. In fact, some members of the House say there isn't enough evidence to move forward on impeachment. Really? How much more evidence do you need? Join me now to discuss Florida Congressman and member of the House Oversight Committee, Byron Donalds. Sir, appreciate you being here. Look, Congressman, you're on the House Oversight Committee. Is there enough evidence to at least start the inquiry?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think that this is commentary from a couple of my colleagues who aren't on the Oversight Committee, who haven't really seen up close and personal everything that's going on here. And look, at the end of the day, we have a couple of things. Number one, this all started when Joe Biden was vice president. They knowingly set up these accounts to conceal money from the American people. The fact that Joe Biden allowed his son to do that already is public corruption first and foremost. That's number one. Number two, there are concerns that there are still actually benefits associated from this corruption. The widow of the Moscow mayor, Elena Baturina, she's an oligarch over in Russia. So when the Russian sanctions came down from President Biden, she mysteriously was left off the list. I wonder why. This is also one of the people that he was at Cafe Milano with several years ago, and then we could go on and on. So the purpose of the impeachment inquiry is to give the Judiciary Committee more ability, broader subpoena power to get all of the necessary information in to see if you have actual articles of impeachment, and I believe that we do.
But at this point, is there any negative potential fallout? I mean, obviously, we saw the Clinton thing. We saw Trump's numbers go up after he was impeached twice. Is anybody worried about that? I mean, this seems like a pretty concrete example of an actual need for impeachment.
Well, look, I think what you have is some members are more concerned about the politics of it as opposed to what the actual job of Congress is. And we do have a constitutional duty to do these investigations if there are serious allegations of public corruption, bribery, high crimes and misdemeanors, etc. And it's without a doubt that there is a high level of issues that should be investigated by the House of Representatives, and we have done that. Compare that to what Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats did when they were in charge. They heard about a phone call, and then before you knew it, they were on the floor with articles of impeachment. January 6th, as bad as a day as that was, as terrible as that was, they were on the floor 4 days later with an impeachment. No investigations, no inquiries, no depth, no research. They just went to the floor and they voted in a party line vote. What they did was wrong. Our process is right. It is actually constitutional, and it respects the powers of the House of Representatives.
And the irony is one of those impeachments was over a call for Donald Trump asking if something happened that we now know actually happened. So unbelievable. I want to get to Speaker Kevin McCarthy here. All right. Yeah. There's a lot of talk that he's going to use kind of like dangle impeachment out there to try to keep from doing some of the massive budget cuts that he made promises on to get the speakership in the first place. Do you see any of that happen? Is that hogwash, or is that actually going down?
Let me put it this way. If this is going to be his game plan, it is not going to be met well. That it will be actually a disaster. There's no such thing as dangling an impeachment vote so you can get away with spending more money. We have serious problems on the fiscal front of this country. Number one, Fitch Ratings just downgraded the national debt. Yep. So now we have 2 rating agencies that have downgraded us. The second thing is this massive inflation brought to us by Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi is because of flagrant government spending. We need to curtail that. And number 3, there is nobody in Washington can actually explain this. Why do the federal agencies need to spend more money now than they did before COVID-19? That should go back to where we were in 2020, 2019, and then you begin building again off of that baseline, but not off of this expanded spending because of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, Congressman, before I let you go real quick, your thoughts on 9/11 today, 22 years later?
I mean, look, I watched some of the coverage this morning, and it really just took me back to where I was. I was in business law class at Florida State University. We were watching this on the screens, and being from New York City, being from Brooklyn, New York, it was just an epic tragedy in our country. We've not seen anything like that in America since Pearl Harbor that happened in America. And it's just a solemn day for our country. It's something that as a country we should never forget. And I also think it's important for Americans to understand that when those towers fell, we didn't have any of these silly political disagreements. We were all Americans. And my hope is that we get back to that soon and swiftly.
Amen to that, Congressman. Appreciate you being here. Byron Donalds, thank you.